Hello and welcome to the most crucial episode of Fighting Illini live to date, episode 28. It is Indiana week, ladies and gentlemen. The day of reckoning is just a couple days away, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. About 30 minutes ago, the spring transfer portal has been announced to be closed by the NCAA. There will be no more spring transfer portal. And if I'm being fully honest with you guys, I don't even really care right now because the Illini got much bigger fish to fry this week, right? Plus, we haven't really lost a lot of guys from the transfer portal aside from Josh McCray in that period. So I'm not really too worried about it anyway. But we have way bigger things to talk about tonight. We are going to be going over the Western game because I was at the game, so I could not do a post-game reaction to it. Then we're going to talk about, real quick, a college game day, absolutely snubbing this game on Saturday. And then finally, we will go over some last details, some final thoughts about how I'm feeling about this Illinois-Indiana game now that it is a few days away. Of course, tonight's episode is brought to you on the Voice of College Football Network. So, as always, here is a word from our CEO, Mark Rogers.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
We have also partnered with the platform Vault Sports. You can join the platform Novik from Vault Sports and use my promo code VOCFBILL, no spaces there, all caps, to get $50 worth of Novik coins when you spend $5. That link is in the chat as well, so make sure to check that out as well. Participants must be 21 or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. It is time to first get into our discussion of this Western Michigan game. Again, I apologize that I could not get out an immediate post-game reaction like the other channels do because I was at this game, and it was a night game in Champaign. And there honestly is more to talk about than I thought that there would be. I thought it would be pretty easygoing the whole way. The final score certainly does tell that story, but that's not exactly what happened. To be fair, there are definitely some notes to be made in this game, even though it was more of a tune-up game before the Big Ten schedule starts. There were definitely some interesting things. Again, overall, great. I mean, 38-0, right? The average not Illinois fan is just going to look at that score and go, okay, they killed them like they were supposed to. The line was 27.5, and they covered. They're 3-0 against the spread as well this season. So, I mean, they haven't really had a problem burying these opponents, including Duke, which they weren't really supposed to bury in the sense that they did. But the first half was certainly a scare. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was pretty disappointed with how they looked in the first half from the bleachers in the upper deck. They only led 10-0 at the half, and it was very, very likely to be a one-score game at the half had it not been for a huge goal line stand. Western had the ball pretty much at the 2-yard line first and goal, and the Illini were able to stop them 4 straight plays. And the last play of the first half actually was a 4th and goal play. Western tried to run a tight end sweep. Michael Brescia was the ball carrier, the tight end, and it was Kanena Odeluga who made the stop. He was stepping up for Dylan Roysick since they sat him out. I mean, he was hurt. They didn't sit him out, but you know what I mean. It made sense to not play him against Western with Indiana coming up, just making sure that he's ready for Indiana. So Odeluga really stepped up in his shoes, and he made that big stop on 4th and goal. He really was the only man that Brescia had to beat. He made that stop, held the shutout, and Western didn't even get close to scoring after that point. That really was the turning point of the game. They came running off the field in the locker room. They were hyped. The crowd was hyped. And from then on, I mean, the second half was total destruction, right? The defense didn't really struggle in the first half, right? It's not fair to say that the whole team was kind of lackluster. That was really the only drive that they let up. Western did actually outgain them in the first half too, which was a very alarming point of focus. But the offense certainly figured it out in the second half, right? They came out literally first possession. They got it 3 and out, and then instantly got the ball, scored a touchdown, is Allmeyer rushing touchdown. And from then on, just the whole script changed, and they ended up killing them like they were supposed to. But again, they really only did it in the second half. And this is not the first time we've seen this already from this team. This is exactly how they played Duke, right? They were up 1 at the half to Duke, and that ended up being a blowout. So that definitely seems to be the trend. It's harder to find trends when you're just 3 games in, and that first game I feel like doesn't even really count. Western Michigan is not a tough opponent, right? They're supposed to kill them, but they are still leagues ahead of where Western Illinois was. So, I mean, there's still decent, and that competition is still decent competition on that scale when you're comparing them to an FCS team. So this was certainly, though, still it was a tune-up is honestly what it was. Let's be real here, but not in that kind of sense, right? The defense was fantastic start to finish. Again, I don't want to knock them because they pitched a shutout. It was fantastic. Let's see here. I already said a lot of the notes that I actually wrote. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, Western especially struggled in the passing game too, going more off the defense. Right. Their starter, Brock Lowry, he was 10 of 16 for just 78 yards. They did put in Brady Jones. He's a backup for a couple plays. I noticed him on the field. I wasn't as really sure as to why. I didn't know if it was an injury or what. I didn't really catch what it was. You do miss some things when you're there live at the game. So if someone who watched on TV would be able to let me know what happened. Because I don't know why he came in, but he came in, he went 3 for 8 for 13 yards. And then Lowry came back in at the end of the game. So he wasn't benched necessarily. That was only 91 yards total between those two quarterbacks. They held them under 100 yards. The run game did get over 100 for them. They had 113, led by Ofa Matele. I don't think I said that right. He only had 46 yards on 8 carries. Their carries were very spread out. That was also the most carries that anyone got for them. They really didn't give someone the ball a whole lot. It was very, very spread out. They had 7 or 8 guys rack up 4 or more carries. So offensively, the big story here, at least for me, was the run game, right? Aiden Lawfrey did not play in this game, right? He left that Duke game early with an injury, and then I don't want to say healthy scratch because he wasn't healthy. He's hurt, but there's just no need to risk his health against Western Michigan when you've got Indiana waiting in the wing, if you know what I mean. And that was proven because Fagan and Khalil Valentine absolutely held it down in his absence. And I completely agree with the decision to not play him, to not play Dylan Roysick, because there's just no need to rush them back for this game. I mean, no disrespect to the Western Michigan program. I have the utmost respect for them. However, I think when you have with where their program is at right now and where Indiana is at right now, it was a smart decision. You did not need those guys to win this game at all, and that was proven on the field, right? So Caden Fagan led the run game. Then he was the clear feature back without Lawfrey present. He had 20 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown on the ground, and he was complemented very well by Khalil Valentine, who got 10 carries of his own for 63 yards and a touchdown. He did miss some time. He did get hurt and then come back into the game later in the fourth quarter. He injured himself probably early third quarter, but it was already kind of looking like a blowout. So especially by the time they got him back in the fourth quarter, I'm not really sure why they decided to get him back in, but that is when he scored his touchdown, actually, was post-injury. So, I mean, you'll take it. I mean, I really wasn't for risking that like I wasn't for the guys who were already hurt coming in the game. They also got a rush TD from Altmaier as well to help them out on the ground. Passing game, Altmaier was very good again. It was certainly his slowest game, but they relied a lot more heavier on the run, actually, without Lawfrey in this one. He was 17 of 26, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, bit of a slow first half, right? Missed a couple throws, right? Some miscommunications for sure. That definitely got cleaned up in the second half. The leading receiver 3 weeks running is Hank Beatty, not quite as dominant as he was in the first 2 games. 6 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Led the receivers. Ashton Hollins got involved as well. I was excited to see that. He had 2 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown, and they were on back-to-back plays as well. He caught a big catch, and then they just went right back to him once he got them near the goal line. I'm glad that they rewarded him there. Hudson Clement had 2 catches as well, 31 yards. Bowick Oge had 1 catch. It was a 13-yard catch, and then he did leave the game early due to injury. I will have an update on that later. The only tight end reception, and we're never beating the blocking tight end allegations. 1 reception for all the tight ends. It was Cole Rusk. He had -1 yards on that catch. So, yeah, again, stop beating those allegations anytime soon. Excuse me. I'm a lot better than I was last week if you watched when I was sick and had to delay the episode a day. I'm doing a lot better, but there's still a little build up there. So I do apologize if I pause a little more than I usually do. On the defensive end, of course, there really isn't too much to say. They're just an absolute force. They dominated a good defense, dominated a bad offense is what it was. Again, Kanena Odeluga, absolutely huge, stepping up without Dylan Roysick. 4 tackles and half a tackle for a loss. Of course, one of those came on the 4th good goal stop, which, in my opinion, without a doubt, was the biggest play of the game, right? Because as I said, the tide just turned. The vibes going into halftime were just much better. I was really down. So were a lot of the other fans. This was a sellout, and you're only up by 10 on a team you're supposed to beat by 27. And then that just changed everything, right? And that is what not only helped preserve their shutout, because they didn't even get close in the second half, but just really, really glad to see him step up, right? I always love to see dudes who don't get as many reps fill his shoes, and he did that perfectly. This team's depth is unbelievable. Matthew Bailey had 6 tackles as well. They were all solo tackles. Miles Scott, 6 tackles, 4 of them solo. Leon Lowry Jr. really stepped up as well. 4 tackles, 3 of them solo. He also had a sack, and 2 those tackles were for a loss. So he was really making some impact plays on the defensive end. Xavier Scott was good as well. 3 tackles, 1.5 of those for a loss. He did leave in the 4th quarter with an ankle injury. I do have an update on that as well later on. I mean, at first glance, it looked pretty bad, honestly. He was down like on this right next to the sideline. And it made me a little worried because he couldn't get up, right? Like all you have to do really is just roll over to get on the sideline. And he wasn't doing that at first. After a couple minutes, though, he was able to walk to the medical tent under his own power. And he did not return to the game which again, I agree with. Pat Farrell had a sack as well, and Gabe Yakus and Alec Bryant split a sack. So Yakus is now at 3.5 sacks through 3 games. And the special teams, it was pretty quiet overall. David Olano was 1 of 1. He hit a 28-yard field goal. That's the only rep he got other than extra points. And then Keelan Crimmins, he did have 4 punts, again, because the first half was a little slow, for 186 total yards. I mean, he looked good. You don't want to see much of your punter, and honestly, we didn't. I don't think 4 punts is 4 punts is not that much. He quietly had a good game as far as good games for punters go. I feel like any good game for a punter is good, pretty quiet, but overall my experience was really good too, right? I always love going to Memorial Stadium. The Geese Memorial Stadium banners, I talked a little bit on last week's episode about. If you need more information, check out my video about Geese Memorial Stadium, or the Memorial Stadium renaming, as I think it's called on the channel. Those banners are absolutely everywhere because it was the first game post-donation. I don't really care. Some people are up in arms about that, but hey, really changed the name. The dude donated $100 million. Let the man do what he wants, okay? The upper deck, I had upper deck seats, and on the bleacher side, and it was pretty great. It's a little narrow up there, but I don't really care. Some people might, but I'm just not really too big when it comes to those things. If I could see the game, fine. I don't really care, and I could. It was a great view, good little aerial view. It was a sellout as advertised. There was not an empty seat around me. The only empty seats I could see in the stadium were in the student section, which did make me a little disappointed. And especially there were some Western Michigan fans that were sitting in front of us. They were pretty funny. Like it was all good fun for the most part. But they were pointing out that there weren't a lot of students there when the game started, and a lot of the students also left before the game ended. Which I get that a little more, right? I mean, I'm a stay till the game's over kind of guy. But that's just who I am when it comes to sports. But I mean, I don't judge if you're gonna leave early at a blowout like this, right? I don't really care. I'm not gonna be leaving, but I don't super mind. But I think when your team is ranked 9th in the country, you should at least show up on time, right? And you should at least sell out that student section, because the student season tickets are sold out. All right, so there's a bunch of students that didn't show up, and that's really sad, especially when you've got a bunch of alumni or even just fans like myself. I'm not even an alum. They're packing the whole rest of the stadium, and the student section's empty. That's disappointing to see. So real quick, so that we can talk about the rest of the stuff, because man, I'm yapping. Sorry, it was a great night. My shining Illini. Before we get into it, the 3rd star was Leon Lowry Jr. Again, 4 tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles, 4 and lost. My 2nd star, Kanena Odeluga, mostly because he stepped up. He made that big play on 4th and goal. That was the play of the game, and he really filled the shoes of our missing defensive captain. And then the 1st star, I have to give to Caden Fagan. 100-yard performance, touchdown on the ground. He was speedy. He was running over guys. He was everything you wanted in a running back on Saturday night. All right, time to talk real quickly about College Game Day. I am not happy about this, folks. I thought for sure that College Game Day would be coming to Bloomington this Saturday, and I would be able to go to my 2nd College Game Day, because I'm actually going to get down there Friday night and going to spend Saturday on campus, checking out the campus, right? So I thought I would be able to go to my 2nd ever College Game Day. That's not happening, because College Game Day is passing up this ranked matchup for Florida versus number 4 Miami. Are we serious? I can't believe that. I think they determined this before the season started, because let's be honest, nobody thought Florida was going to be 1 and 2 and unranked at this point, right? Florida has not been as advertised. But really, I mean, that's probably going to be a blowout, I would have to think. Miami looks really good. On the contrary, And this is a huge game for Illinois and Indiana fans. I know they did go to Bloomington last year, right, when Indiana played Washington. I know that they did that, but I just don't understand why they're passing up this game. I don't understand that. Big noon kickoff is going to number 16 Utah at number 17 Texas Tech. I understand that. That's another great game. And also, this game is a night game. So, I mean, I don't know if that was always their intention. It was announced pretty recently. And also, Illinois and USC is probably going to be big noon kickoff the following Saturday at Memorial Stadium. I'm not going to lie. So, I didn't expect big noon kickoff to be there. They get a pass. That's another great game, right? That's another great game. Yeah, I don't understand why Florida-Miami was chosen over this game. Especially, this game will still be nationally broadcast. It is going to be on NBC. So yeah, I don't really get it. Yeah, someone help me understand. Someone help me understand why Florida-Miami is going to be more exciting than this Illinois-Indiana game. I just don't get it. But yeah, a couple minutes still here left tonight. So I just want to give my final thoughts on Illinois and Indiana. Obviously, we did that in-depth preview a month or two ago. But there are definitely some things that we have learned now 3 weeks into the season that I did not know when we did that preview. So yeah, I just want to talk about that. And then just kind of my final thoughts, because we still got about 8 minutes here tonight. The last 8 minutes I will get to spend with you guys before this game goes down, and I will be in Bloomington. I'm really excited to go. I'm also really nervous because, man, the stakes are high, and it's going to be real embarrassing to be there in my clunky Illinois football sweatshirt and they lose. I don't think that's going to happen. I am confident. But yeah, I will say it is the night game on NBC, as I just mentioned in the last segment. So 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. That's also local time there. The current line, Indiana is 5.5-point favorites. I would take the points on the Illini there, even if they don't win. I don't think Indiana is going to be able to beat them by much more than that, would you? I would take the points there. The spread is also 52.5. These are two very defensive-minded teams. I think points are going to be very hard to come by on Saturday night. I would take the under on that as well. I can't bet on that for two reasons. I just want to clarify. One, because I can't bet on a state college in Illinois. And two, I will be out of state, so I can't even place a bet anyway. So I'm not doing anything illegal here. Nobody flagged me. I'm just saying that is, if I were, that's what I would do. Indiana's 3-0, obviously, and they're ranked 19th. Their first game was against Old Dominion. They won 27-14, which, yeah, it looks a little rough, but Old Dominion did just beat the crap out of Virginia Tech this past week. How about that? I mean, Virginia Tech is bad, right? They fired their coach immediately after the game. Well, whoa. Then we got Kennesaw State. They beat them 56-9. That is, I don't really care about that. And they beat Indiana State 73-0 last Friday night. This is only the second meeting ever between Illinois and Indiana, and it goes back a ways, that both teams are ranked heading into a matchup. The only other time was in 1950. So if this doesn't tell you how far both these programs have come to meet in this game on Saturday night and get you excited, then I don't know what does. There is some big injury news to talk about as well. First, on the Indiana side, their running back Lee Beebe Jr. is going to be out for the season, a non-contact knee injury, just about the worst couple words you could hear when it comes to injuries. He suffered against Indiana State. He was a transfer from UAB, and he was their second most involved running back. He had 27 carries, 209 yards. Kaleon Black is their starter. Still, he only had a couple more carries than him, though. It was really more of a timeshare situation. They're going to hurt without him in the run game, especially against this Illini pass rush and defensive line. That'll be tough for them to deal with. I'm interested to see what they're going to come up with to help soften the workload for Kayleon Black on Saturday night. The Illini injuries, of which there are quite a few. Brett Bielema took a lot of questions about those on Monday at a press conference. He said that both Lawfrey and Roy Siak, who did not play last Saturday, are practicing this week and are expected to return on Saturday. He also said there's a good chance we will see defensive back Jaheim Clark back on the field at last. He's been battling a hamstring injury most of the season. And then the x-rays were negative on both of the two big injuries from the Western Michigan game, Xavier Scott and Justin Bowick. Both x-rays are negative and both are expected to return to the field. So the Illini should be pretty dang close to full strength on Saturday night. Of course, those reports are all per Armchair Illini. So, I mean, here we are. We only got couple more nights. We got 3 more nights until it comes. And I still attest, as I did say in February when I started this channel and made my initial schedule predictions for the 2025 season, I still think the Illini take this one. And I'm trying to be show as little bias as possible, right? Because obviously I want the Illini to win that game. I still think they take it. My main reason being that this team has been together much longer than this Indiana team has. They have been running Bielema's offense, Bielema's defense, Bielema's whole system a couple extra years than Indiana has had Kirk Cignetti. And while I think Cignetti has done a great job there, it's only his second year there. This team, and he brought a lot of transfers with him as well, right? He really built this team. They have a new transfer quarterback as well, who's had to learn their offense. Illinois has not had to do such thing. And I overall, that experience, that sense of camaraderie and togetherness is really big for me. It may sound cliche, but I think that's really important. Probably in football more than it is any other sport. It's just being on the same page and communicating with guys, right? And knowing the system. The Illini certainly have the advantage that way. I do also still hold the belief that Indiana is unproven against real competition, right? And I think it's unfair to them because, one, they don't make the schedule. Right. And they deserved an easy schedule because they were bad the year before. Right. That's oftentimes how it works in pretty much any sport. Right. Because they want the better teams playing the better teams, then the worst teams play the worst teams. I still think they're unproven, but you have to. The only 2 ranked opponents that they did get last year were quite literally the national champ and the runner-up. And they played both of them on their road as well. And I know that they got smacked in both those games. The Notre Dame game looks closer than it was, right? They scored a lot of points in garbage time. They were getting blown out, and they were able to make that one look a little better, that final score, to bring it within 10. But so to be fair, they haven't had a test that wasn't a absolute top tier. Again, they literally played the best 2 teams in college football last year, right? Or at least the ones that made it to the championship. That might be an overstatement, but that's essentially what that's supposed to mean, right? So I also wouldn't be surprised if the Illini are trailing in this one early. Do not panic because they're clearly a second half team, right? Especially actually being in person and just feeling the energy from the stadium now, which I obviously was unable to do the first 2 weeks. Night and day, first half and second half. It was like, especially offensively, it was like watching a whole different offense in that second half. They were just absolutely dominant, where they looked pretty rusty in the first half, right? So you got to keep this within a score, right? Because Indiana has been a very first half heavy team, right? They love to put points on the board. They put up 45 on Indiana State before the half, right? They love to run up that score, and you just can't let them do that too much, right? The defense is going to be key. You keep them within a score at half, and I'll be happy. I'll feel okay at halftime. Even if they're down a full touchdown, I will still have every confidence in Brett Bielema because he's shown that so far this season, right? Indiana hasn't really had to deal with that. They've just really blown out pretty much everyone they've played, with a couple exceptions, and haven't really had to play many close second halves. Illinois has been in that situation a couple times over the past few years. So I think overall it's just that second half grit and second half adjustments that the Illini have had, especially on the offensive end. I do think they catch them. The key is, though, where they lose this is let that score get out of hand, because as we know, the Hoosiers love to run up that scoreboard. So you have to be careful and make sure that you're not down by, honestly, any more than a score. Because like I said earlier, I think points are going to be really hard to come by on Saturday night. I think any comeback of 10 or more is going to be really hard to pull off. Or I guess 9 or more. But I think it's going to be tough. But I still think the Illini do take it. They're a second half team. Indiana just hasn't really faced this level of competition, really, minus a couple, hiccups for them. And Illinois has just made great second half adjustments too. And in Brett Bielema, I trust, right? He has not really steered us wrong. I believe in him. And I think that defensive line is going to be a problem for Fernando Mendoza as well. Just before I hopped on, I was watching some of his touchdown passes, his highlights from that Indiana State game. And he's just standing in that pocket, which, yeah, you can do that against Indiana States, but he does like to take his time back there a little bit. And the Illinois is definitely going to rush him. I'm not saying that he's just going to take a bunch of sacks. I don't think he is. But they're definitely going to speed up his internal clock. This is one of the best pass rushes in the entire country. And I think it's going to be a bit of a shock for him and the Hoosiers as well. Especially Illinois coming in this game as underdogs, even though they're ranked 9th. I think Indiana better watch out. But it's going to be a great game either way. And I do think the Illini take it, but it's very possible that Indiana wins this game, right? I don't think that would be a surprise either way. I would only be surprised if there was a blowout, right? If Indiana killed Illinois, or if Illinois hopefully does the same, that would surprise me, because I think this game is going to be really close. That's why that 5.5 point line really surprised me. So I feel like this is going to be within a field goal. But yeah, I am well over time tonight. So I will let y'all get your sleep or whatever it is you do, eat your dinner. I got to eat my dinner. Illinois and Indiana, the biggest game this program has had in years, is on Saturday night, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. If you're going to be there in Bloomington, come say hi to me. I will be wearing my college game day hat and an Illinois sweatshirt, so I shouldn't be too hard to find, as I will stick out like an orange sore thumb in that sea of red. It's going to be a red out. I think Illinois fans will travel pretty well, though. I think we'll travel decently. We always do. So that's the outlook for this week. Next week, I will be giving my reactions because, again, I can't do a post game because I'll be there. I'll be away from my setup. And it'll be a real late night there as well, because that'll be 7:30 local time. So we'll be talking Illinois, Indiana, first 15, 20 minutes next week, and then we'll wrap it up with a final look at the USC game, which is another big game right after this one. We've gotten through the lollipops. I know Duke's a lollipop. We've gotten through the non-con really handily. It's movement time now for our number 9 Illini. Thank you for spending your Wednesday night with me. As always, ILL.